What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Phil Shocker, the nicest editor here, and we are here for the best division in MBA. It is the Moongeist Season 1 Uber's division. I am here joined by the second half of the best mod squad in Drew, aka Alfredo.
Moongeist best div.
And we are also
That's all I
joined
have.
by one of our own coaches this season. He was one of the best performing coaches last season till I knocked him off his crown for 1 week. But I'm just
How dare
saying.
you.
We have
How
here
dare you.
a semifinalist here in Jordan Evie. Introduce yourself.
So, I play Mons all day. That's it.
And he loves to make art of Mons.
Oh, true.
Well, yeah, we are here to do a bit of like draft recapping on every single team for the division, but we're also doing a bit of a power rankings of sorts with the teams because this is after the 24-hour period, so these teams are set in stone for at least week one until anyone wants to make potential future changes. Basically, where we're going to go is these teams have already been properly ranked, but we're going to go over each kind of definitional wise why they were ranked as low as they did. Now, just understand these are three different set of opinions. We could all disagree with each other. We can all agree about something. And at the end of the day, they are just opinions. If you want to take our advice on certain things, then you can. It's totally up to you. But if you're feeling super confident in your team, don't make any changes and just prove us wrong. That's the best part about Draft League, in my opinion.
But clearly, we have the best opinions here. Like,
Okay, we can be
totally
the best
objective.
diff. We can be the best mods. We don't need to get that cocky with ourselves
I
now.
don't know about that, Chief.
Anyways, if you guys are excited, let's get into this. Starting off here, we actually did make some last minute changes after a very good input by Jordan here. And it kind of makes a little more sense after he really further explained us. So the new team that we decided to put and the number 12 side is unfortunately DJS, the Bulky Dragons. And personally speaking, I've played against DJS. He and I have played a few times in the VGC format. I was the only one that actually beat him in the regular season, just like I did with Jordan before Kara took away another opportunity there. But DJ's team. This team screams top heavy to me. It's really like it's kind of hard to say it's balanced in terms of bulk and offense when it leans to more of a bulky side, and especially since his hazard removal as well is very limited to certain mons, but certain mons don't really want to run those has removals in certain options. And just overall, I think like he's running boots on quite a lot of his Pokemon and putting a lot of heavy pressure on some mons in terms of removal or terms of breaking. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of true because when you're running Veltal, you really want to have some kind of offensive stat a lot of the time, but usually when you're forced to run defog, you end up going like an extremely bulky route, like mixed defenses, mixed attack, and then heavy duty boots and defog routes. Uh, and pivoting out U-turn, but then that also brings the question, it's like, oh, I'm running defog, but I want to run knockoff and snarl and sucker punch in U-turn. It's super hard to fit everything. Uh, when you mentioned this roster's top heavy, I kind of see that. 'Cause for the most part, the main offense is going to be off the Veltal and the Kelly. So those in conjunction will be fine. You know, knock off to soften pretty much everything that wants to come in on Calyrex. But the spinning is probably going to be pretty hard to pull off.
And the first thing that pops out to me is just how slow it is because the fastest mon on his team is Infernape. So it's everything else is like 100 other like under. I feel like this team's gonna rely with setting up its offense, and there's not much other than Infernape and possibly Sylveon that uh, like they want to like immediately hit you, you know? Like
Yeah.
you want to
Yeah, I
like
get you
with
saying.
this.
Like, you look at this team, which if we haven't fully disclosed his team. His team is Evolta, Calyrex Cyrus, Mega Blastoise, but this is Ubers, and we were allowed. Also, if I didn't say it already, you're given 3 Ubers each. So there was some allowing on certain restrictions. So Blastoise actually is allowed to run Shell Smash in this format, which we didn't point out, which we should. Coaches were also able to draft at minimum at least 10 to 11 Pokemon as well. But yeah, but looking back at his team, with Aegislash, Sylveon, all that stuff, he does have 3 relatively good Trick Room users. But the thing is, like, Calyrex doesn't really want to run Trick Room all the time to set it up, even though it can reliably set it up itself. P2, fantastic Trick Room setter, with also access to teleport for great momentum here. And Claydol, something I used last season, it's definitely not that bad of a Trick Room setter. It definitely has the right options and the right kind of move sets and stuff like that to make Trick Room fit. And obviously, there is webs with the beep beep bus here. But in my opinion, he's got some pieces that do like to take advantage of webs, but there's not a lot of options on his team besides, Infernape, Blastoise, Yveltal, maybe even Aegislash to some degree, and if you're crazy enough, maybe Calyrex, but it's just, I think, the speed tiers, the really lack of removal, and there's also very limited hazard setting on this team too.
Yeah, I
There's two rockers and then reliable spikes and webs because Roselia is incredibly bulky and it's one of the most reliable scald absorbers out there. So when you're able to absorb scald for AG, you're able to avoid taking burn on Veltal, so your knockoff is actually strong as hell and your Calyrex is still there.
oh,
So yeah, Roselia is actually quite the reliable spiker and toxic spiker.
I
The issue is fitting it on the set though.
yeah, I think what you said earlier was kind of part of my big nitpick is that it's a great under like a trick room, but like you not I don't think you're gonna be using webs often. Like other than Infernape. Like you're gonna be setting up Mega Blastoise obviously, but you're gonna be like you don't really need webs for Shell Smash, you know? Like you're gonna be outspeeding like probably the majority of the team opponent's team like without scarf. So it's kind of iffy when it comes to like outside of tournament, you know?
Yeah, and there will be some matches where probably Blastoise is going to be pressured to be that defensive water instead of an offensive water in most matches. But I have seen
Yeah.
people be able to use an offensive Blastoise when it's mostly just a defensive piece. So who knows? But I know DJ, he's a really talented battler, can really play really well. And we're going to have to see how his season goes. With that, you guys ready for the next team?
Yeah.
Next team up we have here in the 11th spot here is Apple. We'll just call you Apple if you're okay with that. And they're Silvally in the D. And their team is very, very interesting here. They have Zygarde 100%, Darkrai, let's shut up on my Darkrai, Mega Heracross, Excadrill, Hippowdon, Vaporeon, Rotom Heat, Dracozolt, Drifblim, and Cypher. Some of the big issues about this team. There are only two Stealth Rockers, and there's only two Stealth Rockers. The removal is also not really that reliable, in my opinion. Like, don't get me wrong, Excadrill with Rapid Spin this generation is a massive buff to it, but it's a sand sweeper, and I love me some sand drill. It does never want to run Rapid Spin unless you're running a defensive drill without sand or something. Rotom Heat, it's not a bad defogger, but I feel like there's a lot cool more versatility in Rotom Heat besides defogging. And then Drifblim might not even come to most of the games out there, and it's not really even a mon that wants to defog as well. And just looking at this team, he really is going to struggle with potential spike stacking. And overall, I mean, his Ubers, I think, are pretty good offensively and have a good defensive side between Gross and Zygar, which cover each other really, really well as well. Darkrai is also just a fantastic Darkrai with just amazing coverage. For some reason, it learns Spatial Rend. I don't know this why. It's just a Darkrai. It does Darkrai things. Also, I
I
don't
didn't
care
even
what
know
people
that.
say about this. Hippo, best sand setter. Prove me wrong. You can't, because it's good. And I also love the Zolt pick, though. I will say I love Zolt with sand. I will probably always agree to this. Zolt is a better sand user than Vish is, because Zolt can actually take advantage of Bolt Beak and still be very versatile in sand, even with Meteor Beam sets, mix sets, even a Volt Absorb set's not entirely bad for a defensive Zolt. I overall think this team's good, but the thing that's really, really lacking is just that lack of just removal and the lack of hazard setting.
I my biggest thing is that when I first saw this, I was like, a Tangros is gonna have trouble. Like, not the Tangrowth is not gonna have the trouble, but the team's gonna struggle with the Tangrowth because like a lot of his like mods they kind of don't like Tangrowth that much. Like I'd say like a good half his team are like just don't like it. Like Zygarde can play Excadrill, Arctozolt, and Hippowdon, Vapo. Like they don't want Tangrowth to be on the field. So like and then like his best options are like Rotom Heat, Scyther, and possibly Drifloon for like bulky grasses. But like it's kind of gonna be difficult, I think.
There's another thing Len's mentioning. I mean, for a lot of bulky grasses, you can kind of tech toxic for most part, but a lot of these bulky grasses happen to be poison.
Oh yeah, true.
Yeah, but if they have the poison typing, then they're not resistant to ground. But the big thing here is that I think with the amount of offense this team brings, and like how Thriller said, the hazard game is kind of like whack in a way. Because yeah, you can run SD Spindro on sand, it's gonna turn out well in defog Rotom Heat. But when you factor in that sand is cutting into your Rotom Heat's like longevity,
Oh
because it
yeah.
doesn't run leftovers, it has heavy duty boots now. And then if you run leftovers to nullify sand, you take all the rock tips. Same with Vaporeon. Vaporeon is going to be losing its like it doesn't get leftovers in sand anymore, so it can't keep your team like popped up for the most part. So there's like a lot of anti synergy within this team, and one of Zygarde's biggest issues is even if you land the toxic on the bulky ground, it's generally playing for the long game, and yeah, Hippo will help with that. But for the most part, there's not many pivots into what Zygarde brings into the team and like what it's forcing out. Like it's forcing
Yeah.
a Tangrowth, you have to double to your Rotom, and now you take Sand Chip because you have Sand there.
Yeah.
So yeah, like it's pretty anti-synergistic. It will work no matter what. You can make this team work. It's just gonna require some pretty heads-up thinking. So
Yeah, like
yeah,
what I
like
said about the hazard, like the only mon on this team that's going to be reliably bringing hazards every week is going to be Hippo, because you're not going to do it on Metagross, you're not going to do it on Excadrill. So literally, all you have is one, in my opinion, just one hazard setter with Stealth Rocks, and like to be honest, the team seems like some mons really need to rely on heavy duty boots just to be effective. Like there's Heat, there's Blim, there's Cypher. I personally do think heavy duty boot Cypher is great, but Cypher I think is so much better as an offensive breaker and an offensive pivoter than having boots on it. Like having boots on it's great, don't get me wrong. It can make pivoting really, really good. But I feel like the missed the opportunity to run something like Choice Band or Choice Scarf to kind of counteract a lot of teams. When Cypher can hit really hard with Technician, I just need like, and in my opinion, I just think Cypher doesn't really fit on a team like this. I feel like
Yeah.
Steve picks up Cypher just specifically to counter grass types.
Yeah. I can see where you're coming from. It's probably his best like grass type answer, but like you're gonna be relying on a mon that's bug flying. So it's not the best defensively. You know?
oh, and then another thing about this team that I'm actually noticing right now is this team doesn't have any knockoff absorbers.
Oh yeah, true.
The only absorber is Hippo, but if you let your Hippo take that knockoff, it's not getting leftover, so it's actually easier to chip down in the long
And
term.
it's also
And it's
losing
just like
that
bulky cutting.
smooth rock to try to keep the sand going for Zoltan Drill.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
But yeah,
So
but overall,
like that
I
weakness is actually pretty huge.
yeah, overall, I mean, the team's not bad. I'm a personal big fan of sand teams, and I think this sand team is very interesting. I wondered how well he's going to use it with sand, so it's going to be very interesting to see that. But overall, I like the Ubers he grabbed, very good. Overall, the team is
Besides my Zygarde.
yeah. He's took both of our Ubers that we wanted.
Pick right before me too.
Yeah, and he picked mine really at like a few picks after my round. Like, come on, man.
Like what can you do? It's just funny.
All
See,
right.
I
Well,
didn't even know
that
what I was
was
picking
our that
until
was Apple's
he
team.
got me.
Apple, let's see if you prove us wrong, and hopefully you do well with your sand. Up next was the recent change we decided to make and give a little bit more fairness to now the 10th spot being the course Carvanas and Psycho here. And Psycho's team's is very interesting in a lot of ways because there's a lot of repetitive typing here. He has Shaman Sky, Lando T, Lugia, Mega Mawile, Pheromosa, Tyranitar, Shuckle, Serena, Beware, and Rattata. There's a lot of repetitive typing on this team, and normally in some leagues and in some formats, repetitive typing is never a bad thing. I've seen some leagues where people have gone with Lando T plus Celesteela. That's fine for a repetitive typing because their secondary typings work better with each other in terms of that. But with this team, he has three flying types with three massive weaknesses to ice, and there's really only one resist on this team. Like, yeah, you got T-Tar and Sam, but you don't want T-Tar taking the chip, especially if you want T-Tar to be specifically made to take a certain hit, either the berry or maybe it's an offensive T-Far, and you don't really want to take damage with that. Also, the Haz removal, as Jordan pointed out to us, and I personally didn't know this, apparently Faramosa gets rapid spin, which actually makes this team a lot. This was what kind of helped us decide to give his team that big push was the fact that Faramosa got the rapid spin, which if you guys don't know what rapid spin is doing right now, it gives you that +1 speed boost. And with Orion Ultra Beast, that is extremely fast and gets a beast boost plus a speed boost from rapid spin, you could single-handedly lose to this Pokemon off rip. It is that offensive. It is that scary, and it's a perfect balanced attacker as well. Not a strong move pool, but it has a decent enough move pool to support it. The webs from Shuckle actually really help the team out as well. Actually, can make Mawile relatively good to be able to go with some speed investments in certain matches to outspeed things. I personally do like the Serena pick as well for a ground resist for a team. Overall, I'm really interested to wonder why he went three flying types though.
I think Lugia is kind of interesting on this team because, like you said, it's the third flying type, but like also with like I feel like it wants to help like T-Tar with the fighting types, but like because Sandchip is going to be losing its multi-scale, so it's kind of losing in the long run if it's going to be taking more damage at full, you know? Like it's still bulky, but like not as bulky as like multi-scale bulky, you know?
Yeah.
There's kind of a caveat to that, and it's that if you're boosting to 100%, you do have multi scale for that turn, and Lugia is actually very fast.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah, it'll usually roost before, but what Lugia is doing here is you can run Calm Mind, Weakness Policy, stuff like that. You can run offensive Lugia, it's actually not that bad, but it's basically providing like that defensive buffer on such a volatile team style because webs can kind of be like webs can either win you a game or lose a game if you're not that careful, but Lugia does kind of make it a little bit more consistent by allowing you to switch around, kind of similar to Chansey offense. Uh, but the main thing is, I feel that a lot of the offense on this team is going to center around Mega Mawile and Pheromosa, because the only two types that really wall Mosa are Bulky Ghost and Bulky. Uh, what is it? It's leaving my mind. Flying. That's right. And Mega Mawile happens to destroy both of them. So it really just depends on how well the offense is going to be played here.
Yeah.
You don't have as much leeway around switching, but if you get your offense going, I mean, it could be extremely overwhelming. It'd be really hard to handle that.
Yeah. Like I. Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. Keep going.
So I agree that it's like this is a really good offensive team, and it works very well. I think with Shuckle. I think the what I think really hurts this team is the defenses because I feel like the like just overall iciness against this team like is kind of hurts it. I think because the only one that really wants to switch in is Megama, and that's usually an offensive mon. So I feel like it doesn't really want to be taking a lot of chip and just wanting to like click buttons, you know?
Yeah, usually Mawile wants to be kept out of certain KO thresholds, especially because, like in draft, you're gonna be running a lot of bulk on it. Bulk, a little bit of speed, and a lot of attack. So usually it if it takes like just the slightest bit of chip, a lot of times it's put into KO ranges it really doesn't want to be in. So then you're forced to click sucker punch a lot more. But
Yeah.
for the most part, I mean, this team is fine. I think with the double spin though on Mosa and Serena, the biggest perk to this team is that it has really good hazard. Like it has a good hazard game, even though it's only rocks and webs. The fact that you're able to keep up your hazards and then the team you're facing has to try to get rid of it a lot of the time and concede their own rocks because they're most likely clicking defog. That this team already has an innate advantage in that regard.
Yeah.
I just feel bad for the person who drafts the Dialga and loses to Focus Sash Rattata with Endeavor Quick Attack.
True.
True.
Hopefully
Alright.
the Tyranitar didn't come out first.
Well, moving on to the number 9 team, we have the Sacramento Kindras in Oren Latios, new face to the season, which if we haven't said already, we have pretty much everyone here that is new so far besides, obviously Jordan, myself, and Drew. Spoilers, we're in the best division. No issues there. But anyways, we have now Latios' team, and his team, it's quite unique in some ways. It has Primal Kyogre, Xerneas, which is not allowed Geomancy, Mega Mewtwo X, Corviknight, Garchomp, Superior, Karkle, Ditto, the Hidden Uber, Thievul, Cursola, and Coffee. The thing about this team, strictly, it's only like a top 7 Mon team. Like 7 Mons you have to prep for. One Mon just gets set on the bench every week. Like, Carcoal's only really good as a hazard setter if you really want rocks that's not on Chomp. Which, don't get me wrong, I agree that Chomp never really wants to run rocks unless it's playing a defensive role. But I just think, I mean, the top heaviness of this team is very good. Don't get me wrong about that. That's a really good top heavy, like 6 or 7 mons he has, because it's very hard to really prep around exactly how you want to figure his team's going to be every week. Now, yes, Primal Color is limited having the blue orb hold onto it, so that gives you the benefits. But Xerneas, you may think Geomancy not being allowed on it is a hindrance. It's the exact opposite. This thing is even more deadlier because it's more creative in terms of its moveset. Mega Mewtwo X, incredibly fast, hard breaker, access to bulk up, ugh, and then just Corviknight, a really solid defensive steel flying typing, which I think really paired off with the team really well. And then Garchomp, we all know how amazing Garchomp has gotten this generation. Access to SD Scale Shot is just too freaking good and just single handedly wins games. Superior, even with the lack of hidden power, is still very good in the right matchup. And Ditto, the hidden Uber Fret. This thing will copy anything, and if it's scarfed and you have boost, you're screwed. If you're just not even scarfed, because there are times you don't even want to bring scarf Ditto to counter certain teams, because Ditto is that creative of a mon. And literally, Ditto on a team, you can expect Ditto to come, and it doesn't come. Ditto could literally never be brought, but it forces you to prep different every time when you see a Ditto on a person's team.
I yeah, I totally agree with you. I feel like the the toughness of this team is just really good. Plus Ditto, but everything else will probably only come in niche matchups. I don't see Karkle coming every week, unlike literally all the top sets plus Ditto. So that's what I think.
I think what they've done with this team is actually pretty interesting because the main thing about it is while it's extremely like uber heavy and Corviknight, Chomp, Superior, an incredible like OU core basically. I mean, Surf without hidden power is probably not OU, but I mean it still runs around in OU without hidden power in Gen 7, so I think it'll be fine. Unlike Scarf defog sets. But for the most part, I think this team actually has some insane versatility, even despite like the fact that Ogre is locked into Blue Orb and Mega Mewtwo X doesn't have an item. Because when you consider that Xerneas can viably run Dan Scarf and Specs, and can run Calm Mind in place of Geomancy in some matchups, and it can run defensive. So there's a lot of ways to take this team. In particular, you can make Hardcore your hazard center and go straight up hyper offense. That's 100% viable. Have like Hardcore be your hazard lead, Ditto handle opposing offense, and you have like 3 set of supers in the back. So like I think this team's gonna be fine, especially because I know Orange is actually a pretty good player. So yeah,
Yeah, if there's one thing I
very
gotta
creative.
really,
Really creative with it.
yeah, if there's one thing I really gotta knock him on there is definitely the has removal. It's quite limited. I mean, Carkle, if it really can do much for spinning, but I don't know. Corviknight, I know, can easily run defog in most matchups, and that defensive Corviknight is so hard to take down by itself. And Syrup is also one of those Pokemon that it's alright every once in a while, depending on the set to run defog. But overall, in my honest opinion, the only real form of hazard removal, in my opinion, is just going to be that Corviknight.
I think
But
Xerneas though. Defog Xerneas is very good.
it actually learns
So
defog?
yeah, it's a really good defog,
How in the
especially on
world does
fire
this thing
types.
learns defog? It's a reindeer.
It's amazing. But defog Zern is actually insanely good because for the most part, what is Zern going to be collecting? Oh right, a fairy move. So you just run a fairy move, a fighting move, aromatherapy, defog on choice set. It's just defog every time they have to switch. Because you have to respect Zerny so well.
Pokemon
So
is weird.
I know, right? Guess you're just learning. 'Cause there's also Spin Miramosa that caught you guys caught you by surprise.
I Yeah, Pokemon is questioning. But yeah, overall though, I love the special offense though this team got. If that's
It's
Kyogre.
funny to see that you mentioned special offense because it also can be extreme physical. Choice
Yeah.
Band Xerneas, you can run Liquidation on Primal Kyogre. It's actually insanely valuable to lure as a
Physical
special move target.
Xerneas.
Yeah, physical Xerneas is amazing.
Yeah, overall this team, I think in terms of offense, is incredibly terrifying. And I think the bulk is still supported good around it. I think that's the main thing is going to be holding back the team is just again the limited options it's going to have in terms of what mons it brings every week. But
Yeah.
I've faced off against Orin in our speed tours, which you guys don't know we've done the speed tours to make sure we've done our best to give the best stock possible for the Ubers format. And you want to know how good he is? Of the 3 speed tours we've done, he's won 2 of them. So that just proves he's good in this format.
He dethroned me on the first one. How dare he?
Yeah, so now
Yeah, I
moving
gotta
on.
say,
Oh, go ahead,
I
Drew.
gotta
Finish
be
what you want to say.
scared with my week 9 here.
I have to face him week 3. Maybe third time's the
I'm
charm.
busy in week one.
Oh
All right.
no.
Well,
Oh
so
well,
now,
it's fine. It'll be
all
fine.
right. Moving on to our 8th ranked team we have here is the Vibin Victinis, coached by Agronauts. And this team is another one of those teams that has a few repeated typings, and it's quite interesting about it. They have
It's
Giratina
really
Origin.
bulky.
That
Yeah.
too. They have Giratina Origin, which is the normal form with it being on all forms.
Oh, that's altered, by the
I
way.
mean, Alter, I meant. Whatever. They have Magirna, Megagalade, Solgaleo, Buzzwold, Chansey, Drapion, Lantern, Runerigus, and Illumise. And as Jordan definitely pointed out, this team is extremely fat.
In my opinion, this probably has the best defense that we have seen so far. Because, like, it's just like you can, like, he has a defensive answer to most types, I think. Like, you can switch into, like, basically anything with just, like, Giratina, Buzzwole, and Chansey. So, and plus, AV Magirna is pretty bulky. So,
Actually, like, I don't think he even needs to run AV Mage a lot of the time
yeah.
because the thing is, this team, it's really, really fat, but a lot of these mons can play an offensive role. Like, you can run Fast Combine Giratina Altered. It's actually really good because the offensive typing is pretty good. The
Yeah.
only thing it lacks is like a fire move because there's no hidden power fire on it anymore. Yeah, it's Wicked Flamethrower. So, I mean, for the most part, this team's gonna be fine as long as you use this, like, as long as you do in the builder creatively. So,
Yeah, if I had to pick
it's
something
really
that's
fat.
yeah, if I had to pick something that's kind of weak about this team, I mean, I don't think the hazard setting's that bad. I mean, you have 2 relatively good reliable rockers in Chansey and Rune Rodriguez, 2 good reliable T spikers in Rune and Drapion. But if I had to say the removal on this team is extremely weak. I think there's only defog on I think Buzzwole gets defog.
I'm pretty pretty sure Buzzwole gets
I
defog.
think even
I think so.
Guillotine I know
Check.
gets
Yeah,
defog.
Giratina
But
is the only defogger in the team. He has
yeah.
Illuminating.
Yeah.
Well, whoever
He
brings
gets
Illum,
defogger.
if he brings Illuminazy, he's gonna be a legend 27 because no one's ever gonna use that Pokemon. But overall, the bulk of the team is just disgusting, but disgustingly good because it just really counteracts a lot of the typings. I think the Ubers he grabbed were pretty good here. The one thing about his Ubers though, really, two of the three are weak to Ghost and Dark, and then he picked up another Psychic type in Mega Gallade, which is also a massive Ghost weakness. Then picked up Runerigus, which is also a Ghost weakness. And his only two good answers are Drapion and Chansey, and certain ghost types are actually good against Chansey in terms of having physical coverage. And Drapion doesn't really want to take a lot of hits unless it's forced to be like more of an AV set or more defensive. Just, I mean, don't get me wrong, I like the option of offense between having Magearna, Mega Gallade, Solgaleo, Buzzwole, Rune Drapion, and even Giratina. But I just feel like it's kind of weird combination of the bulk in stuff and just the really bad lack of hazard removal and hazard setting, in my opinion.
I think the hazard game actually isn't the biggest deficit to this team, though. The main one is he doesn't really have any speed control. The
Yeah.
fastest Mon on here is Mega Gallade, who can't run a Scarf. And the next closest one is Solgaleo, but a lot of the time you're going to be running Teleport on that thing. I
I
mean, you
was
can run Scarf, you can, but I feel like there's some role collision here.
I was about to bring that up. With the speed control, like I've seen Buzzwole like Scarf work before, but like you don't want to be bringing that every game, so that might be an issue.
To
So
be honest, for Scarf Buzzwole, I don't think it's fast enough to actually act as speed
yeah,
control. I mean, you have Tailwind Illumise, I believe that's an option. So, I mean, you can try to do it with Scarf Solgaleo and stuff like that, but for the most part, I feel like this team can be pretty easily overwhelmed a lot of the time.
If
yeah,
there's definitely
Especially
one
if you
thing
get
this team
good
has
amount of
going for it
recovery.
is the Trick Room offense that it carries. Trick Room
That's true.
Magirna,
oh yeah,
Trick
true,
Room, Room
true.
Service,
Magirna,
Solgaleo, Trick Room with having Giratina, Trick Room with having even Runerigus, which I have proven that can actually be really functional in Trick Room. The Trick Room offense is insanely scary in this one in this team, which I think is a really good asset for the team because a lot of people nowadays they don't plan for Trick Room offense in a lot of formats. And I personally think Trick Room offense is a really good option and form of offense. Just because someone can just reliably get that Trick Room up, like Magirna itself, and just like I single handedly six out someone with Trick Room Magirna in the past. It's that Magirna is one of those mons, along with some other things on here, that if you get this thing out of Trick Room and it starts getting Soul Heart boosted, you pretty much cannot do anything.
yeah, Mage is one of those mons that really forces you to prep for myriad of sets. Like, there's a lot of things this thing can do. You know, double dance. I mean, you can even instant lose to the Star Power Draining Kiss set,
Oh yeah,
but you have to be very careful about when you actually throw out Magirna too, because it's like the same case as Mega Mawile that we talked about, where it can be put into ranges where it doesn't really want to be it, but it's a little bit more forgiving because it's bulkier.
yeah.
So
It's also Steel Fairy, which is probably one of the best defensive typings in the game. So
yeah, I mean, it'll be fine. To be honest, the only thing I can really say about it is the lack of speed control. I mean, Trick Room alleviates it. It's not entirely viable to run Trick Room every time for that sole purpose though, but you can 100% get away with it for the like if you know what you're gonna, if you know how to prep with that, you can get away with that.
Yeah.
yeah,
Go ahead, Drew.
I was just saying, I I feel like I feel like it's similar to oh yeah, which team? Oh wait, it was DJ's team. I feel like it's similar situation with that with me because like it's good in Trick Room, but like it's also the speed is just not the like it could be improved, you know?
I think the difference between DJs and Argos though is that DJ has a lot of priority. So
Yeah,
they have like the same dynamic, a little bit more on the offense side for GJ.
Yeah.
Yeah. Overall, though, I think this team is not like really bad. I think the bulk and offense in terms of and just the myriad of ways this team could go. It's gonna be interesting to see how Argo goes this season.
Yeah. I could definitely see this team like doing well this season. You know, just has a little bit of issues. I
I
think
think
will
we'll just see
probably.
we'll just see how the team functions.
Yep.
Yeah.
Moving up to our number 7 ranked team here, we have the Chile Cloisters in everyone's favorite quag in Chile. And personally, me and Drew actually wanted to help Chile because Chile got unbelievably cursed with all the hacks and snipes he got throughout his draft. So we did everything we were powered to help make his team better. And overall, I think we did. But it's going to be up to how Chile takes this team and see how he does. But Chile's squad, though, is quite scary in some ways. He has Mars Shadow, Deoxys Attack, Palkia, Fairforn, Sylveon, Togekiss, Swampert, Incineroar, Arios, and he picked them on Whooper Wednesday. Whoopa! Which means he just broke the broken Pokemon. So broken that it can kill a Mega Metagross.
The
He's
best,
that
the best
strong.
Kyogre switch in.
But anyways, on terms of his offense is insanely scary with Mars Shadow, Deoxys Attack, which barely has switch-ins, and I'm actually in an Ubers league that has Palkia Origin, which is basically slightly stronger and slightly faster version of Palkia. And just as that could be with Palkia, Palkia is a menace to switch into. This thing has insanely good coverage. It is a hard smacking Pokemon, which can even reliably in some matches run its orb to really punish teams. Like offensively, this thing is a mad truck. But this is not also a bad defensive mon as well. This thing does get access to bulk up, so if Chill is going to be the real one, will run bulk up at least 1 week this season. He may lose his Palkia, but he'll at least go and show the bulk off tech there.
Hey, don't sleep, don't sleep. Bulk up Palkia, kind of dangerous though.
And in terms of his defense, I really love his defense with having Ferroform plus Swampert. Very solid defensive core right there, like perfectly like mitigating counter each other's weaknesses to a perfect T right there. So Valley, I think, is an underrated pick because of the fact of just going and being so diverse in what typing you could be every single week, and even the set you can be every week. Like there are some weeks where Savali is perfectly a good mon with offense. Then there's defense with parting shot, which is really good for the team. Then we have one of the flinch goddesses where you basically draft this, you have a 60% chance to win con in Togekiss, which can play both offense and defensive. Even though some people say it's more of a defensive Pokemon, I don't think so. It's perfectly good offensive. Incineroar, really good pivoter for the team as well, with U-turn, Intimidate support, and then the Spider Lad himself with having now access to Toxic Threads, which lowers your attack and poisons you, and also having the option to Toxic Spikes plus Webs, along with the Spikes and the Stealth Rocks on the team as well. I think Hazard Control is slightly limited, but I think it's
Yeah.
is pretty good here. I think the defense and offense pair really well with each other. I think we did the best we could to help Chile with his team, but overall, it's still not perfect. And we obviously have acknowledged that it's not that perfect. But I think overall, for what we could do with him, I think this team came out really, really good for Chile.
Yeah. I do think that one of the big things that stand out to me is what was said earlier, the hazard removal, because the only two he has is Togekiss and Solali, but some weeks they might not want to run that, so it's gonna be a bit of a hassle removing those hazards, I think.
The issue too is that Savali, unless you're normal, will not be able to run boots. So, and it's vulnerable to almost every hazard, especially obviously it depends on the typing. But it's going to be pretty hard pressed to keep those hazards off. But while the good thing is, while there's I think this control is a little lackluster because you actually have to run defog tokens probably every week. Um, while the removal is a lot more subpar, the actual hazard setting is amazing though.
Oh yeah,
But there's rocks with two rockers and two spikers. You can get away with spike steal in the last slot. I mean, what do you really need on it? Psycho boost, two other attacks, and then spikes. and then with spikes in the late game, switching into Palkia, switching to Marshadow. Remember, Marshadow neutral coverage is unmatched in this entire game. So the thing about Marshadow is it has insane neutral coverage, but its super effective one isn't actually as great. But with the spikes there and the rocks, it's really hard. You can be really hard pressed to switch into this thing with not quite luck. Like it is truly like that dangerous keeping that around, and you can't really set up because you can just run Sash in specialty.
Yeah, and like Ferrothorn is like I think just Hazard in general is really good because I think just Ferrothorn alone is probably, in my opinion, one of the most reliable bike setters that isn't an Uber because it's just it's so chunky and it's a steel type, so it's unless it's against a fighting or fire type, like it's kind of hard not to get this thing set up, you know?
Yeah, that's true. Another thing about this is the offense is really hard to actually beat with your own offense because if you looked at how many T-Wave spreaders he has on top of the webs, he has T-Wave, Togekiss, Savali, Palkia, and Ferrothorn, and
It,
two priority in the first two slots with his Ubers.
it's this all it's his team is gonna be really difficult to switch in. I think that's it's just gonna be really hard.
Yeah, it's hard to out offense this. There are some holes that you can poke. You can poke some holes in the defensive core, but if you play the balance pretty well, get your offense in stuff like that, you can usually get your offense going before they have a chance to break your defense. So
Yeah.
this is a pretty solid team overall for the most part. Just that the removal is pretty. The removal is not there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think overall,
So
Chili definitely what we could help him definitely be the best of what he could get,
Yeah,
and I
they're
think
pretty
Chili's
good
gonna
for a
do
couple of
well.
half like night.
yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah,
but
I,
I mean,
because
I expect Chili to 6-0 someone with Whooper at least this season.
still disappointed. No Shuckle. Uh, man, gotta just. He was stolen by Shuckle. I am disappointed he did not get it this time.
Don't worry, we're gonna talk about
Very
a
sad.
snipe that apparently hurts someone way worse. Don't worry.
Wow, I see what you're trying to do here.
Anyways, moving on to our sixth ranked team here. It is going to be Dashing Sceptile, another new coach this season, the Seattle Sigalifs. And this is quite scary in terms of what do you do to prep around switching here. But they have Arceus Fairy, Mega Gengar, Groudon, Latios, Heatran, Zapdos, Pangoro, Pukimaku, Lickitung, and Ivysaur. Real quick, it's something we also forgot to mention. We had limited the Arceus forms because we have proven that Arceus is just a broken Pokemon itself. So we limited to 4 forms drafted. Once the fourth form was drafted, Arceus was off the board for limitations in terms of drafting. I believe Dashing actually drafted the first Arceus form in Fairy, which he said was the best pick. He has yet to prove so. But his Ubers pair pretty well
Yeah,
offensively together. I think
yeah,
that, overall his team can kind of pair really well with it. I do think this is again another one of those things where this team is very top heavy. And his lack like the removal is not entirely weak on this team. Like there are times when Lottie can be definitely a good defensive defogger for a team. Zapdos is probably one of the best defoggers in the game since Boots became a thing. And yes, Arceus can defog, but it's only if it's really heavily pressured to be a defogger. When Arceus, I think, is that perfect, bulky offensive mon, or in the right matchup is just a pure offensive setter. But one thing that's really good about this team is just Gengar itself. To trap
yeah,
any mon, and if you have the right coverage and it is weakened down and you outspeed, Gengar claims a KO and forces you to have prep. And that's one thing in any league out there. If you get one Pokemon by itself that forces prep, it is more valid for a team than a lot of people give it credit for. I will say the Groudon pick makes some sense to why he went with it, but it seems weird to pair that with Zapdos because now it makes Zapdos flying stab with Hurricane pretty much null infected because of the fact that now Hurricane's only 50%. Heat Wave boost, yeah, that's really really good for grass typing, but then it has to rely on electric stab and um its Heat Wave boosted attacks with fighting types. Like some fighting types are not going to be that scary for Zapdos, but it's still kind of hard pressured. But he does have really good answers to the fighting typing out there. But overall, his team again, it's kind of top heavy, but I think it's not that bad of a top heavy, like exactly how we went with um Latios's team.
I
Honestly, it's so yeah, it's literally the first six, and then you can
yeah.
find some situational use for the bottom four. But I think you guys actually didn't mention one thing in Mega Gengar. It forces prep, but you also have to play a certain way around it because Encore's a thing on this thing,
Oh
and it gets
yeah.
nasty plot. So if you switch, let's say you click Toxic and Mega Gengar comes in, oh you're getting Encore, it's getting +6 and killing you. So that is one thing, but also the Groudon I actually think is an amazing pick here because it boosts your Lava Plume on your Heatran. And what is one of Mega Gengar's best offense tools? Oh, right, Hex. So now you have Static Zapdos with Discharge and Thunder Wave if you wanted to. You do Thunder Wave Latios. So you do like so much status spread on this team, and then you set up into a Hex like late game with Gengar. And Paradance or Groudon is a thing. That's Thunder Wave Swords Dance 2 attack. So you paralyze everything early game, and then you Swords Dance late game, and you can set up into that with Gengar because the only true answer to Precipice Blade is like the Steel Flyings and the like bulk gases. I mean, obviously you can click a fire move for the most part, but you don't want to run that all the time. So you can actually have Gengar trap those for Groudon. So the offensive synergy is really, really good there.
And another. Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
go ahead. I just have a
So
habit saying that.
another set I feel like really works well with Groudon and Heatran is Scarf Eruption
Oh yeah,
because
classic.
like under Sun that thing is gonna, unless it's a really bulky resist, there's it's gonna claim a kill. Like it's just really hard hitting. But the big thing I think with this team is like I think it was also mentioned earlier is the hazards because like I don't feel like I feel like Zapdos kind of wants to be the defogger because like you could possibly run it on Latios, but like I don't think you'd want to be running on Arceus because like just calm mind judgment is just that good, you know?
I think the Arceus is gonna want to be the rocker in this team a lot more than the defogger.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of pressure on Zapdos to actually remove the hazards, you know?
It's
And
technically a lot easier to fit though, because it's not gonna run Hurricane a lot, so it actually can fit that, but you can't overwhelm the Zapdos. But the good news is there is a really good knock absorber in Arceus Fairy, so you really won't have to worry about your boots being lost.
yeah,
Yeah. So I think overall, I think this team is actually really well built for the top six. The bottom four, I'm not too sure. I don't really have an opinion on those ones, but I know the top six are really good together.
I
Just
feel
that
like
the
he
hazard
purposely
removal
picked
might be a
the.
little.
I feel like he purposely picked the Ivysaur just for chlorophyll.
Yeah, I feel like that's the
yeah.
only reason to.
And then we don't
I
know
mean,
why he
they had
drafted the
so
abomination known as Pukamaku. We just all know that thing's just trash Pokemon.
It's not much. I'm not big of a fan of Pikumuku, but like it could
honestly,
possibly work.
I think it's actually fine in this team because it gets baton pass. You
Oh,
can drive
oh
fast into
yeah,
your Mega Gengar.
I think it also
oh
learns
yeah.
Memento, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Or you can run like screens baton pass too.
Yeah,
I
Yeah,
but
on
that Pikachu sleeper.
yeah.
I honestly didn't even know it got Baton Pass.
Yeah, it's a sleeper pick here.
Oh my god, I feel like it's gonna be wanting to like switch in Baton Pass and then go into less like hard hitters, you know?
Yeah, it's literally that. You go to, let's say, you have Pyukumuku and you beta Toxic, but then you baton pass. Now your Gengar comes in your Encore and +6. So,
Yeah,
yeah, you can widely run Encore Nasty Plot every week because you only need 2 moves to kill mostly, unless, most things except for like Quasar when you get Giga Drain and stuff like that.
yeah,
Yeah, so, I mean, I think this team's amazing. I'll be real. I think this team's
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah,
Like I think
good.
if this doesn't make playoffs, I'd be kind of surprised because of just how good it is, you know? Like I feel like the top six by itself could probably like do stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, with that being said, we're now going to our five best ranked teams here, which definitely going to make the critiquing a little harder for us here, but it's going to also make us appreciate some of the really good things about every single team going forward. Not to say every team that we've already ranked had a lot of bad qualities, we just pointed out some flaws that can easily be fixed in a lot of terms of stuff like that. So, with that being said, the number fifth ranked team here is JTK, which we do need to make a bit of a sort of a pseudo announcement here. Originally, we had a good friend of Jordan's here, Assault Wolf, but apparently, due to some really bad, unforeseen things that happened, Wolf had to unfortunately drop. But his good buddy JTK decided to take over the team. He was given any chance and opportunity to make any changes. Even after Grace went out, his changes are still going to be active for week one. And what the team you see here is the final team he decided to go with. And the team he decided to go with, this is just it's not fun. He has Arceus Dark, so the second Arceus form, Mega Mewtwo Y, Tapu Lele, Komao, Melmetal, Moltres, Regieleki, Quagsire that's facing us backwards, Audino, and Dupiter. And there's just one thing you look at this team and go like, expanding force equals death. And then to pair it with one of the best darks in the format, in Arceus Dark, and you just can't win. Like, I mean, Ghost is very heavily pressured. Like, Ghost looks really good against this team, but you think about it, you got Bulletproof Komomo. You have an Audino, which is staring into our soul and it's creeping us out. And then you just got Arceus Dark here that can just wall almost Ghost types. Like, I feel like the ghost check is really, really good at this team. I think the physical options in terms of potentially Komo, even Reggie Alecki, and then Melmetal is really good as well. I think the special offense on this team is really good. I think the Moltres is an underrated pick. That thing is a good mon with boots and even with some versatility with it as well. As someone that's
Moltres
ran
is actually
weakness,
super cute.
yeah, I mean,
Keep going, keep going.
I'm someone that's actually ran weakness policy Moltres and I 6-0'd off lead with it. So it's not a
What?
bad offensive mon as well in certain matchups if you play it right. He does have Quag, which is one of the best unaware answers in certain formats here, and he does have Audino, which again just stares into your soul, but it's not a bad mon as well. It gives you regen with having the access to have Wish, Protect, be a nuisance and really kind of help the bulk. Melmetal is actually a pretty good mon that you can never really fully know what Melmetal is going to be every single week. Everyone always thought when the Melmetal first came, a banded mon every single week, but Melmetal has proven that he doesn't need to run banded just to hit hard, but also to be super versatile and very vile in a lot of matchups. Como O is just scary. Regieleki, he just likes to bounce.
I mean, if it works, it works.
And I think like even like out of like taking out the Ubers, I think there's some decent synergy with this team. Like Komodo, you can do a lot of sets with it, like make it bulky or like just go like DD or something. And like like the only thing that really bothers it are fairy types, which is handled really well with Melmetal. So
And Moltres.
yeah, and Moltres. So it's like I feel like there's a really good synergy with this team personally. So
With this team, there's actually a lot of a lot of like little intricacies that kind of make it that much harder to check. Because the main thing is the only things that really wall XP Force are super bulky psychics and darks. Some steals, but Moltres is right there. And the dark on here, Arceus Dark, this thing gets punishment, so you can actually like punish every Calm Minder, like every psychic Calm Minder that can actually eat Spanning Force. Uh, in addition, the team would normally be weak to U-turn, except there's a Como and there's a Flame Body Moltres standing right there. So at least unless you want to risk getting burned, I recommend not clicking it.
yeah,
If there are some
Yeah,
things we could take away from this team, there is a little bit of some nitpicks here that some people don't always draft all the things that need to go for it, but there's some issues with the team being that he only does have a few rockers. He does have a Weber, but the Weber most likely doesn't come a lot of the games. The hazard removal is limited strictly to Regieleki and Moltres in this one. Moltres is decent enough defensively to run Defog. Regieleki, it can actually run it and actually kind of just use it to even be faster than it already is at base 200. But I think one of the
you can
main
run it every week actually. fine.
One of the main things though I think this is gonna kind of keeps this team from being even more stronger was the fact that there's no grounded poison. So toxic spikes are gonna be a very big issue for this team. But I mean, obviously the size of the metal, obviously. But again, some mons are gonna really be forced to run boots a lot of the time if they can't really be able to run. Like I feel like Aleki is one of those mons that can run boots, but I feel like boots just wastes a good potential for Aleki to kind of be like a screen setter, potentially a choice band user, specs abuser.
It's
So
funny too,
I
because actually for Natdex, like this past season, whenever I had a lucky, I ran boots every except for one. So it's actually completely fine. You do give up the extra screen turns though, and that is huge on this team. But
Yeah.
for the most part, I mean, yeah, T spikes are really, really bad for this team to deal with.
Yeah.
Although you can viably run boots on both the lucky and Autona and easily get away with that. But the defog is going to be pretty hard to pull off. Especially because you're defogging your own terrain.
Yeah, it's gonna. I don't know. I feel like I agree with you guys. It's just you're gonna be relying on heavy duty boots on both small trace and like regular lucky, and it's just gonna be trouble getting them off. That's
Offensively, though, have fun switching in.
yeah, exactly.
and
Have
even
fun
good
switching
luck
into
trying
this
to
team.
check the defense on this team because the defense actually pairs itself really well against with each other.
Yeah, and then even like the defensive part covers for the offensive one extremely well. That's like what I think makes this team that much better.
Yeah.
Yep. So now going into our fourth ranked team here, we have it's someone
Oh
else
wait,
that's in this
fine.
call. It's
Oh,
a
Jordan
slippery
Smith.
superior in Jordan Evie. So
Oh
real
no.
quick, we'll go over Jordan's team and we'll let Jordan go ahead and discuss what he likes and dislikes about his team, and we'll give our thoughts and opinions of as well. But Jordan's team, I even look at this and go like, please no, I don't want to face this guy again. But please, why am I forced to do this? He has Arceus Water, Rayquaza, Tapu Koko, Victini, giving the peace sign, Gliscor, who looks like he's maybe flipping us off with his claws there. We have Scizor, who's just looking out for a handshake there. We have Diancie, Abomasnow, the sniped Sneergle pick, and a Diglett.
Haha.
The one bond I was planning on getting.
It's funny too because I actually didn't think of getting Smeargle, then I saw it, and I was like, oh, that fits here. Okay, I'm gonna grab it. And I managed to snipe you right there.
The one bond I wasn't expecting to be sniped.
Whoops. So, the thing about this team, actually, I was gonna get Zygarde complete first and go for something completely different, but then it got sniped right before it. So I said, okay, what's the best mod I could get at this time? Oh, Arceus Water. That's like one of the best Arceus forms out there. I mean, I would rank it the best one outside of Arceus Ground, which got banned. But I mean, that's just like a personal take on that. But the main thing to this team is that it's super, super unwallable. Like, you can't really switch it to the offense on this team. Because the
Yeah.
defense is a lot more. It's a lot bulkier than you'd think with Gliscor, Scizor, Mega DNC keeping everything together. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think I really have that much to say on it other than offensive synergy.
You're also forgetting how
And
hyped up Abomasnow looks to be on the squad, man. Look at him.
Oh, yeah?
I honestly, with the two Ubers you got, I feel like they synergize well with each other. Like I feel like the biggest thing with Rayquaza are ice type moves, but you also have like Water Arceus, which is probably one of the best like which is ice type in the game.
Freeze dry.
So besides freeze dry, but
Genie.
it's like but remember he also has a bikini. So like any mod with the freeze dry will have to be a victory with that thing. So it's kind of hard to deal with this team, I think.
Fun fact: V-trait users on this team.
I know, you somehow have a Rayquaza that learns this, which doesn't make sense. He doesn't have a V.
His head looks like more of an X.
Think about it. You could just use the top prongs, and that'll be your V.
That's not good enough. Also, this was actually a fun fact Jordan pointed out that I didn't even realize. He drafted 2 Mons on his national dex team he did last season.
Yeah,
Oh
Gliscor
yeah.
Scizor was just too good.
Except
Actually,
when
I was gonna get Excadrill, but Excadrill got sniped right before. I was like, "There's no way this
was it
IRC
also
roster against
like
Excadrill."
Wolf like heavily sniped as well for how many things he
Yeah,
had?
he was super
Oh
sniped.
yeah.
Yeah, but I think what you got here is pretty good. I mean, Coco checks a lot of bulky waters that some of your mons don't really want to deal with. The Mega Diancie can pair really well with Arceus Water to cover some of the grounds there. You got Mr. Hyped Up Abomasnow here, which in the right turns, you can get up a reliable Auroraville up and just have your team be definitely designed in certain weeks to just say, let's just run a weakness policy and then go burr. Then you have Smeargle, who will wag his tail and keep saying, I snaked him in front of Drew, and then just have every hazard in the game. And I can definitely see it running Smeargle a few weeks every once in a while, depending on the right matchup. Diglett, he's just here to be here. He's just giving you that blank stare of death right there, and just like Diglett.
I looked at the 1 pointers and I said, "I need some points." Got Diglett. That's it.
But I do
And
agree
then
with you. I do agree with you. You definitely got probably arguably one of the like of the three Arceus forms that should have been drafted. This was arguably like number two, number three on there because like this is one of the most bulkiest forms of Arceus out there, just because of the two weaknesses, and you have some really good coverage to the two weaknesses. I would say though, electric, even though yes, you have Gliscor, certain electrics are still a bit of a problem with most teams. And yes, you got Coco, but Coco really doesn't want to be chipped down unless you want to be running Roost on Coco a lot of the time. But
really true
overall,
electric resist either.
well, yeah.
Because you're boosting the electric move.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. I mean, if you have one thing that's going for you, though, if you can keep that terrain up, there's no chance of Spore, there's no chance of Sleep, and if you can't put any status on the team, especially Sleep, especially when you have a Gliscor that can just run Toxic Heal every single week and just be annoying, like, defensively, this team really suits each other, and there's still a lot of good offensive pieces here.
Yeah, I think so. I feel like the only sort of issue, it's not that big of a deal, but like if you don't have Smeargle, the hazards might be a bit of an issue because the only real one you have is like Glass with rocks and like Mega Diancie. May it, but you don't really want to run like rocks on Mega Diancie. You kind of want to click like funny
You
buttons.
can run that every week. You only need like offensive tool. You only need like 3 offensive moves and rocks.
Oh, that's true. Mm.
Yeah. So
I actually did
I mean,
notice one thing about this draft is you didn't grab the grounded poison. Like you got some solid defoggers though. Don't get me wrong. Like Gliscor plus Scizor can easily run defog every single week. Coco's
oh yeah,
not.
I actually did consider that. Remember how before the draft I grabbed a Alolan Monk,
Oh yeah,
but
you did have a little muck.
I took that out of Mega DNC because I looked more into it. I'm gonna make boot cool, and then really what else really takes T spikes here is just Arceus, and then like Scarf on or like choices on what is it? Bounce back. And the
Yeah,
removal in this game, it's more removal than my Natdex one. It's kind of crazy because that one actually had like 5 removal.
And
yeah,
So
I feel like it's just like oh my God. I don't feel like having a grounded poison makes a team bad. I had I did have a grounded poison in my Natdex team last season, but I was able to make playoffs. So,
I think as long as you manage around T spikes, you'll be fine.
yeah, exactly.
and personally speaking,
So, yeah.
I've been a person that doesn't care about hazards. I feel like even if you bring hazards and it cripples a team, you can still win. Cause like I brought a weakness policy drift limit in low tier. My opponent got rocks up. I got hit with rocks chip, and I somehow still 6-0'd with a drift limit with unburdened. So I generally
Oh
think
yeah,
having
100%. Yeah.
like having hazards on your side of the field doesn't mean you lose the game. You could still win a game even without running boots, without running the things you need. Like hazards don't win a game; they just help a game, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The way you win a game is how you play the game.
But
All right,
yeah, I don't think there's any real glaring flaws in this team. Like, I think there's good synergy here, you know?
all right.
Ready to click bolt strike and electric terrain. Trust me.
Now, but now we have the number 3 ranked team, and oh wait a minute, that's me.
Whoa! It's
So
almost as if Both of them are here.
I know, right? And we wonder who's gonna be next.
Whoa.
But with my team, I have Arceus Steel, Ho-Oh, Urshifu Single Strike, Tapu Fini, Tangrowth, Zygarde 10, Spectre, Shelmet, Skuntank, and Mega Man. And first off, I want a Darkrai. Why can't I ever get the Dark Menace himself? But I felt to myself that since there was the four Arceus forms, the first three went, and then it came to me. And I took some advice from my buddy Styrian when we were in an Uber's league, and this was his first overall pick. And he told me that it was one of the best forms to get for its typing. So I decided to go with it. And plus, I think it would be pretty ridiculous not to pass up to get the last Arceus form on the board, especially since I sniped Latios on that. But I went with Arceus Steel, so that means I drafted the last Arceus form, which means no one else got one. And on the way back, I paired it with Ho-Oh, which I think defensively is a beautiful pair right there in itself, just for the way they really can cover each other well. Then I decided, you know what? For Ubers, what else can I get? He's not really an Uber, but he's an Uber. I went with Urshifu. I've only used it once, and the one time I used it, I won a championship with it on my team. And then I went and got Finny in the fourth round, which I was a little surprised to get. And I think Finny just started to pair well with the team. Then going with the bulk, I went with Tangrowth, one of the really good answers to a lot of certain mons in the format. I went with Zydog. Now, here was a fun fact. I was torn between Zydog. I was torn between Zygarde 50 and Spectrier. I wanted Zygarde 50 because I think that paired so well with this team. But Drew actually gave me a bit of a hint of advice about having Spectrier pair with Urshifu Single Strike, which the three typings of Dark, Fighting, and Ghost, if on one team, there is no proper switch in at all to the combination of these three typings. So I decided to take this up, and I had Spectre in my Natdex league at the time. It finished in the top 15 for kill leaders. It was my best Pokemon overall in that season, and first time ever using it, I loved it, so I decided to go with it. Then I went with the GOAT pick and Shelmet there, because the fact that I really need to start picking up hazards, because I only had one Stealth Rocker, being Arceus Steel, which doesn't want to run rocks. And so I got Toxic Spikes and Spikes. I grabbed a Ground and Poison and Dark in having Skuntank, which I think paired decently well enough with the team with the ground weakness. Plus, I needed the defogging option. So Finny wasn't pressured to be defog. Ho wasn't pressured to be defog. And then I had to grab. I feel like I had to get an electric type because electric typing is obviously my favorite typing if you don't can't tell with that. And I decided to go with Mega Man, mostly for the fact that there are certain grounds I feel like I'm not scared of with having Finny plus Tangrowth and even to some extent some of the other picks on my team. And plus, Maine can still handle certain grounds. Like it can handle Excadrill outside of Sand because of the fire coverage it has. It also has some nice options there with extra Thunderwave support, Snarl for lowering special attack, and I just felt like I also needed it for speed. I really needed some speed going forward as well. Because my speed can be mitigated for bulk, and someone's just really run speed to run speed. So overall, my team I think came out perfectly well in terms of offense and defense. I will admit the thing that hurts my team a little bit is the fact I don't have the most solid removal and have the most reliable hazard setting. But like I said before, I don't care too much about hazards or removal all that much. I think overall though the team is going to be looking pretty good, and I'm looking forward to see what I do with it this season.
I
I
see you
will.
are also a fellow Fini and Zygarde enjoyer. That is my favorite core. I swear.
I had a
I
friend that
gotta
had the
say,
same core as well in VGC.
I gotta
Oh,
say,
what's up?
the Tangrowth and Ho-Oh pairing, very gross for Gen Core. Like, that is disgusting. Like,
Yeah, it is. It is.
it's, like, you basically have an answer to basically most things like regen. Like, because, like, Ho-Oh's really good, especially, right? It's like special defense is, like, really high.
Yeah, it's like 150 some.
Yeah, and then Tangrowth is just sitting here, like, hey, I'm gonna sit on your any like physical attacker. So it's like, and it's just like really good synergy. And I think Spectre or Shifu, like you mentioned earlier, I suggested this because Ghost, like fighting and Dark, very hard to switch into. So, and plus the Urshifu handles all like the guys who are like more like physically like not very good, like chancy. But Spectre handles like more like the special side, you know. So that's my take.
I think this team has very good offense. The only negative synergy is Feeny and a bunch of status ones, because when you look at Hex Spectre, Teeth Spikes, Glare Zygarde, and Sleep Powder, Tangrowth, and Sacred Fire, Ho-Oh, and Will-O-Wisp, Arceus Steel, like there is a little bit negative synergy there. I mean, I run 5 status moves on top of Feeny teams anyway, so and you're gonna be defogging your own terrain sometimes, so it's not the biggest drawback actually. Honestly, I think it's actually better if you play it right. It's actually more of a strength than a drawback. But that is something you do have to keep in mind with this team. Offensively, everything pairs together super well. The only mon that can really handle Spectre and Urshifu is Mandibuzz, but I don't think anyone even drafted it. So yeah, like
Yeah,
everything is just blown apart by these teams. You mentioned the double regenerated core is really good. I agree with that. The only other thing is knockoff might be hard to switch into, but I mean you have an Arceus Duel there, so I think you'll be fine. Yeah, you'll be fine. You'll be fine.
Yeah, and
yeah,
I think what's also really good about my team is like you can look at this team, you already like know like oh Finney's gonna be defensive, Tangro's gonna be defensive, like all these bonds can play defensive. But then I can just like that snap of the fingers, flip the script. I'm bringing like Calm Mind Finney. I'm bringing like a weakness policy stored power Finney. I'm bringing specs or banded Tangrowth. Same thing can go for Arceus Steel because like I felt with Arceus Steel easily can play defensive for me in a lot of games, but it can also just play super offensive as well. So I
Yeah,
think
this
just
team just has a lot of flexibility.
yeah, that's I think
yeah.
what makes this team really help stand out above the rest is just that flexibility itself. And
Yeah,
like
the ease at which you spread status for a Hex Spectre late game is actually extremely scary. So,
Yeah, and
like,
it's just oh
anybody
sorry.
who has had to answer Toxic Spikes and Spectre, like Aspire for Specs at the end game, oh, that is horrifying.
Yeah, only. And it's just the fact that you have probably one of the best RCS typings is plus Ho-Oh. It's just like really scary. So it's just hard to switch into and it's hard to break, I think. That's the big thing.
yeah, I think overall this team is really good. And I'm excited to try out some of these mons I haven't really used in a while. Some of them I haven't even used at all. And some I barely get the chance to use nowadays. So I'm super excited because it's going to be kind of like a new team. So it's gonna be very interesting. But going to number two, is it gonna be Drew? Survey
Oh,
says no. It is one of our new coaches in East ETCN. I'm sorry if we butcher your name in the Leicester Lycan Rocks. And this is a pretty good team in terms of just covering a lot of weaknesses. Like there's Internus, Kyogre, Rillaboom, Mega Scizor, Sarah Aura, which he got in the sixth round, which I no fifth round, which I'm kind of surprised. Milton, Gligar, Clefairy, Goffrida, and Deoxys. And Latios, we know you're gonna put in the comment section. Ew, Zera Aura. There, I already did it for you. Now you don't have to type it out.
You
But
Sarah Aura.
yeah, but I think also we do need to point out we from a lot of testing with the leagues, we banned a water spout on Kyogre. It's too broken of a Pokemon to do that. But it's still a
too well.
phenomenal Pokemon. And he drafted probably arguably two of the best answers to Kyogre in Zeraora, plus the monkey. Because priority shut down Kyogre a lot. And then just pure offensive capability with electric types to take advantage of rain also really shut it down. So I think, and as well as his Ubers in terms of bulk and offense covering each other through from synergy, just the two alone, are extremely good. Kyogre weak to water and grass. Eternatus does resist both water and grass. Eternatus is weak to ground types, psychic types, ice types. I think that's
Mhm.
it. And then Kyogre counters ice, can check the grounds, and relatively psychics. And I think overall as well, he got some really good mons to take advantage. I mean, he doesn't have a lot of mons to take advantage of terrain in this type of team. I mean, yeah, he's got Turnus, he's got Zera Aura, but he does give some good reliable.
I think everyone takes advantage of turning, except for Gligar, because everything here appreciates that passive recovery.
That was what was gonna lead into that was definitely the
Literally everything.
recovery.
Yeah.
Yo, imagine
Literally
how
everything
broken
here. Like
Sap Sipper could have been if you got the recovery and then you got a +1 attack boost.
Oh yeah.
But
That'd be cracked actually.
I do like the Mega Pick and Scizor to pair with the Kyogre, again neutralizing that one and only weakness Scizor has. Also, just having a really good, monster pair with that fire weakness, having, Eternus, Thick Fat on Miltank, and just overall some really good options. He was able to get Deoxys as well in his last pick, which he decided to save up for. In my personal opinion, probably not the best Deoxys form, and probably maybe. I mean, I guess he maybe wanted to use it just to use it. I mean, it's not like it's one of those kind of like not exactly a suicide lead, but it's like that focus sash lead. You get any potential hazards up, and then kind of go down every single week.
Deoxys normal is actually, you'd be surprised how close in power it is to Deoxys attack. It's 30 lower, yeah, but when Deoxys attack is taken, DON is actually pretty suitable as a replacement. Like it's pretty funny. Uh, but I think what makes this team so dangerous is that he has the option to run Scarf Ogre, but then you pair that with Spike on Deoxys and Toxic Spikes on Eternatus. So and Rockland Gligar is pretty, and Clefairy is pretty good too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
It's
and
really
Milt.
hard to answer that.
Yeah, one of the things I really like about this team is too is like every mon in this team has some form of ways to just win by themselves. Like you got Zero Aura with bulk up or going Calm Mind. You got even Cosmic Power on Eternus, which for the love of God is then please don't run that. That's just not being nice. Then you have SD Rillaboom, SD Scizor. You even have SD Gligar, which can work in certain matchups. You've got Calm Mind, Cosmic Power, Clefairy, and even an underrated set that a lot of people sleep on is that Cursed Miltank, baby, with Facade. This thing, like Miltank is alone is a Pokemon that is just so diverse enough as a normal type that fits on a lot of teams, and I like it on this team. Gives him another. I mean, if you really look at his team, besides Miltank, he really struggled on Ghost, but this gives him the best Ghost answer he can get because of the fact of Scrappy, and also being Scrappy, you can't lower that attack stat, which means Miltank, if it's an offensive Miltank, it's gonna go in. Also, getting the access.
I'm.
Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. So my the only real gripe I have for the team is that the last four kind of are really knockoff. You know, like it just feels like not like he had three unbounds and is not going to be taken. It just feels like his best knockoff section is probably like Mega Scizor, and like if it's banned from them, it does not want to lose its band. Or if it's like
Knockoff sort of.
yeah, well, it's like you need to have a bit of trouble with
Yeah, you
like
might want your Black Sludge and your Weakness Berries and stuff like that on that build.
yeah. So it's like I don't know. I feel like sometimes it might be hard to switch into like knockoff, but that's really it. You
Honestly,
know?
it's funny that you mentioned knockoff though, because he's weak to knockoff, but look how many knockoffs they have. They
Yeah,
have
exactly.
like five of them, six of them with Deoxys, unless I'm missing
So
one.
I I think that's it. Wait, does wait? No, I'm thinking some. I was thinking Flang. I was looking at Gligar, and I was like, does it have knockoff?
Yeah, it does.
Wait. Oh, it does.
Yeah, it does.
Oh damn. Oh, then I was right. Okay.
Well, I
Yeah.
think
So
one
I.
thing
Yeah,
that we
there's
can
like six
definitely,
knockoffs on the team.
yeah, one of the things I can definitely think we should take away here is that it's definitely felt like when we were getting honest opinions out, they ran with the points. But honestly, for his low point budget mons, I mean, Gligar's not all that bad. It's a good defensive violate ground type for a lot of teams out there. Clefairy is also again another reliable rock setter. It's not that bad. Decent teleport user as well. But one of the lower tier picks that I think he was just really like in about, but I think could definitely be a sleeper pick is that Goffrita pick. You force prep with shell tag. And
I don't
I
think
have
it even gets Shadow
seen,
Tag.
yeah, it
I
does.
think it does.
Because I
It does.
remember asking, I asked about it, like to Hunch, and they said no, because within 1 point,
Hmm.
like,
Oh wait. Oh,
yeah,
I
because
see.
I remember bringing that up, but I don't know.
Hmm.
However, that
Well, even if it
really
is, I mean,
goes.
it's not necessarily a bad mod. Even like Goffetel without Shadow Tag is not all that bad. Like
Yeah,
Eviolite,
it's really
you
not.
if you
Yeah.
think about it, with Eviolite, this thing surprisingly is actually very defensive and can take quite a
Yeah.
lot of hits. Like this thing is decent enough, really good. It's decent enough to kind of just be able to kind of go off lead and just really handle a lot of teams. I think he handles his offense and his defense relatively good. The only thing, it can be just a very slight nitpick, but I don't think it's like the worst nitpick in the world. He only has two ways to remove hazards, and that is defog on both Gligar and Scizor. And Gligar can run defog effectively just like Gliscor does, but Scizor, it can, but I feel like it's losing one more extra space for a move that it can just be able to do a lot of work with.
Yeah, usually on for Scizor on this kind of team, you really want to try fitting knockoff and U-turn, but with defog there, you're probably going to be forced to run it a lot. Uh, I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world, but it is kind of a hindrance on its already bad for MSS.
Yeah. I feel like he kind of wants to be a more defensive, like Scizor with defog, personally, from looking at his team. Like, it just, I don't know, I feel like he wants to be like the designated, like, defogger. So,
But overall, I think
yeah.
this team is
Yeah,
just really solid. So with that being said, we are now at the number one ranked team, and totally not rigged by Hansch and himself. We have Drew in the
Oh,
Philadelphia
it's
Empoleon.
me!
So Drew did actually make some transactions, which he'll go over when we get to talking about his team. But his current team at the moment right now is Mega Lucario, Mewtwo, Reshiram, Weavile, Jellicent, Sandslash, Florges, Garbodor, Shaman, Rotom Fan, and Bidoof, the rival of Wooper.
The god itself, the right behind the Wooper.
that
So,
better be shiny every week.
oh, absolutely, absolutely. That thing's coming every week here. Uh, but yeah, so some of the reason, fun little fact, I actually did not know what my first two picks were because I was a wheel pick. I wanted to see what was left. I saw Mega Luke. I was like, ooh, Mega Luke. And I saw I believe Hunt pointed out Mewtwo was still on the board. I was like, ew, that's disgusting. Let me take that. Bot Bing, Bada Boom. Here we are. So,
You literally cannot switch into this offense. You can't.
exactly. It,
Like the first four are such insane offensive picks. I don't even know what to switch into like two of them,
I,
let alone all of them.
I, that's the reason why I picked these four. Originally, it was Giratina O instead of Reshiram, but I don't know. I don't feel like the reason I made the transaction is because I feel like some of the picks were kind of iffy. So I feel like I feel like it's slightly more balanced as a team, but still, it's like me personally. It's just like I feel like there's nothing really stretching into the team. So because you can literally run like Fan and Weavile, Fex Reshiram, and like just from that alone, there's not much switching into that. So except for maybe like bulky waters.
And bulky waters are torn apart by close combat. So
Exactly. If you have a Toxapex, you kind of get destroyed by a Mewtwo. So
you do threaten that Mewtwo with knockoff, which is one thing, but actually, getting in is another.
yeah,
So I mean, I've seen Lucario just hacks the heck out of a Vex because Hex is not carrying haste for some reason.
oh
So
yeah,
yeah, and I mean, you could even go. The thing about this team, there's so much flexibility in both and on which side of the spectrum you're actually attacking on. Because Mewtwo, you can run physical. It's not bad for physical. And then for Lucario, you can either run Nesty Plot or Swords Dance or
oh
bulk up
yeah.
on that too.
Or maybe sometimes even like double dance with agility, like Nats or Source Dance.
You
So,
could, or you could just run what is it, Swords Dance Bullet Punch or Nesty Plot Vacuum Wave. That's
oh
also good
yeah,
too. Double priority on this team.
I
Yeah,
think what's
the only
really.
thing.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, you go ahead. You go
Yeah,
ahead.
I think what you also sleep on is the fact that this also gets Mock Punch. for
Oh
Lugia. So
yeah,
he
it
has
does.
three, four. Oh, actually, and he also has extreme speed.
Really? I don't
Yeah,
remember getting Mach.
Wait.
I know
Oh
he's
wait,
it
no,
does.
no,
I don't
yeah,
think
you're
he has
right. It
Mach.
is just extreme, but
Yeah, yeah.
he's got three forms of priority that are all like two get boosted by adaptability, and one is base 120. So
Yeah.
this thing is just incredibly hard on priority wise. And also paired up with another one of the best priority users in Ice Shard with Weavile. It's scary. And like you kind of really did cover up the fighting weakness that Lucario and Weavile do struggle the most with having Jelly and then a Florges and then a Rotom fan because you're a big fan. But
Of course.
overall, I definitely think the changes you made to the team did help. And I still kind of pointed this out, and I feel like Jordan might disagree with me on this, but I personally do think that the hazard removal options is still a little bit of a struggle because it
Oh no,
seems.
I agree. I
Oh,
hear that.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah, because like,
Yeah.
you think about it, Florges in most matchups is probably gonna be forced to run defog instead of some other variants it can go with. Rotom Fan can run defog, but I personally do think Rotom Fan's a really good offensive Pokemon in some good matchups, so I don't feel like you don't want to run that. And more times than not, Sandslash doesn't come to a lot of games, and it can spin, but that's all it's gonna probably do. I mean, there are some ways you can be some cheeky with some Sandstorm, Sand Rush sets, and all that, but I just feel like again the hazard removal a little bit limited. Your hazard setting isn't terrible, but it's limited to just two Pokemon in itself.
Also, you didn't mention defog rush for him. That's
I
a large
mean,
defogger, but with boots, it's actually not bad with boots. Boots versus defog, two
I
turns.
mean, I actually did know it learned it, and I pointed out to Drew because I know Zekrom got defog. So, but in my honest opinion, this is a Pokemon I don't care runs boots a lot of times because it can still be a menace with boots because
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
barely need to
exactly. That's
run
why I
any
mentioned it.
investment on this thing just to kill stuff.
Yeah, I can see where you guys are coming from because those are like the only three guys on my team that kind of can run defog. Like you can Reshiram like is kind of like more offensive usually. But like you can possibly run defog possibly a game, but like I personally feel like just going straight offensive is usually the best way to play Reshiram. So, but yeah, like hazard removal isn't my best, but it is what it is. Hopefully, I can possibly batch it out during games. So
Yeah, I think overall though,
The
this go ahead.
one thing I actually really think is pretty glaring hole here. Um, you don't have a very resist, and except for Garbodor, but Garbodor can get overwhelmed. You have Lucario, which is good for checking it offensively. That is the one hole this team is actually pretty
Yeah, that
big
was
on.
one of the first things I told about
yeah,
Drew's squad that he even in himself definitely did try to fix some transactions wise.
yeah,
But like,
Yeah,
yeah, you have
it's probably just not
Florges. Like
possible to
Florges is a
consider.
good Spadef wall, but again, if it's taunted or toxic without aromatherapy, it weakens down. Garbodor, like you even said, even with Assault Vest, if this thing gets wear down, it's not going to do much. And if you really needed another answer, like you have to run like almost like a max Spadef jelly to kind of switch it on those as well in stuff like that.
yeah,
But just, I mean, again, certain fairies though, they like there's not a ton of the best fairies out there. There's some that are definitely gonna be a hard pressure for teams, but most are kind of like you can get around certain some of them.
Get around it,
yeah.
Lucario. Bring it in, Kalema kill. So,
I yeah, I
yeah.
like that's I definitely see that. That's actually one of the things I recognized before making the transactions because my team was actually a more weak to fairy before making the transactions because I had Giratina O. But like obviously it's not still not the best switch ins to fairy, but like at least it went from like 2 to 1. Like actual like basically actual
Like actual weaknesses.
yeah, actually this is so
And the good thing is that one of them is Weavile, and Weavile's frail anyway, so
yeah,
I don't really consider it one.
yeah. So I do see where you guys are coming from. I tried my best to at least make it a bit better, but
It's
overall,
only so much you can do in Grace. So I think
yeah,
what it's worth, you actually did a pretty good job at patching it. Truthfully, Jelly and Florges, they're not resist, but they're bulky enough to handle most of the defensive ones. like you would that would be able to stomach a hit for most things, you just bring
Yeah.
in Mario and threaten them back out.
Yeah.
And only other gripe I have is the lack of pivot. There's only one. I think yeah, it's only
Yeah.
one. So, I think that front. Oh well, I mean, you can teleport Mewtwo. You can run like Will-O-Wisp for coverage screen teleport. It's actually a pretty good set because defensive Mewtwo is not actually that frail. Pretty bulky.
Yeah.
So you can run that. So there's always that option as well. A lot of ways to take it. Other than like the very weak, it's not bad. It's not bad.
Yeah. It's definitely kind of lacking in like pivoting, but hopefully it's makes up for it and just straight like raw force, you know?
Yeah, as
Yeah,
long as you play your offense, it's actually really, really hard to like fight this team because
Yeah.
if you lose one of your mons, you're gonna be losing a bunch more after that.
Exactly.
yeah, but with that being said, guys, that is it for our power rankings. We've been going for roughly over an hour and a half, so I hope everyone who's watched this, thank you. But I hope everyone's excited for the Moongeist division. For the other divisions, we are doing the very best we can to try to get things planned out. Obviously, a lot of people have IRL stuff going on with work and personal lives, so we are hopefully everyone can still be very patient with us and do the best to just wait as we can get the other power rankings out. We don't know if we'll be consistent with keep on doing the power rankings and all that, but we definitely wanted to get these power rankings done for you guys at the very least, since I pulled these off last season as well at the very late at night. But same as this. But we hope you guys did enjoy. If you guys need to let us know. Let us know in the comments below who has the best team and who do you think is the underdog going to this. I think it's Drew.
You can't say that when he's number one on power rankings.
But we all know Drew's gonna throw.
Wow. Wow.
But
I can't believe this, Jordan.
but yeah, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you to Jordan for joining us in the absence of Haunch.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's cool.
And obviously, you have the best mod squad for the Moongeist division.
Best,
Guys is
yeah.
the best division in general.
Yep, which, if you guys did not know, we finished our draft within basically 26 hours. Probably the fastest draft you'll ever see in the world.
How do you get through what 5 picks in one?
And then
Like,
Drew jinxed
before
us,
I
and then
went
we
to
went
sleep.
slow the rest of the way.
I'm sorry.
And then he jinxed himself, and he got sniped of Smeargle.
Deserved.
It's a bad habit. It's a bad habit.
Well, with that being said,
That
we
was just
think
my Smeargle now.
you should just name your Smeargles Drew now.
Oh, true. I'll do that. Okay, I'll do that for you.
Oh, thanks. At least I'm being honored.
Yeah, anyways, thank you all so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the little banter. Hope you guys enjoyed our little input. If you guys noticed anything that we may have missed, let me know in the comment section down below. We would like to know your thoughts and opinions. Maybe even rank these teams yourself and what you thought were the best out of them. But with that being said, we're all gonna hit the hay. We're all gonna probably get drunk off of soda or whatever right now, and then pass out and hit the hay. But anyways, thank you all for watching, and until next time, guys, I am Ben Phil 96 Hedgehog. We have Drew.
Peace out.
We have Jordan.
Okay.
Bye bye, people.
And we are out of here.